Hi everyone, today we're going to be talking about how to draw the foot. So let's start with the basics. Okay, so you may remember from my How I Sketch Poses video, I showed how I reduced the arms and the legs to lightning bolt shaped lines. Called it my lightning bolt technique, and then I took the feet and I said that I just do triangles for the feet. Like this. Now, just looking at it like this is it looks goofy, looks kind of messed up, but when we add the volumes of the leg, suddenly it's not so bad. So yeah, when I think of feet, I tend to think of just triangles. Something I've noticed when people who aren't very comfortable with drawing feet, they tend to think of the foot. Here's the leg. Then they think of it like this, as a bit of a rectangular block. And the problem with this is, first of all, the height. It's pretty terrible, and then you don't get the tapering of the foot, and there's really no heel. See, the leg comes down, then the foot starts. Got like the letter L. With the triangle though, you have the leg coming in, and now if we draw a line straight down, which would be this line, you can see how much heel we have in the back. And we need that for balance. And you also see that we got a good measure of height and the way the foot tapers down. So really, the triangle is what I really like to stick with. Also, from the front view, we have the width, and we have how the foot inserts into the ankle. Now, obviously, this is extremely simplified. This is pretty much the first pass. When you're just coming up with a pose idea, you'll reduce the foot like this, as a triangle. This isn't the end. This is just the beginning. So this is how we start. But of course we're going to have to go into more detail than this if we want to draw a foot that looks halfway decent. But again, it's a great way to start, because unlike this, you're getting a lot more information down, and things are just a lot more accurate when you view the foot like a triangle, whether it be from the side or the front or pretty much any view. Try and think of it as a triangular shape. Now, from the front, we would have the ankles here, and kind of looks like this. Now again, this is very simplified. What it really would look like is, let's say this is where the big toe is. This is the rest of the toes. This represents, as we said, this is the height. So that's this. And then coming down it tapers, so the toe is here. So remember, you have all this to account for, and that's all happening here. So you have to imagine that this is not just a triangle that from the side it looks like this or something. It's like all this. So just think of that when you draw. Remember that, okay, it's coming down, and then we have the toes here. Now the ankle is slightly at an angle, so where it connects here on the big toe side, it's a bit higher than on the little toe side. So these are the ankles, and then we'd have the leg coming out from here. So when I think of the foot in more detail, let's say I have more time, instead of just doing a line and then having my triangle like this, I'll think more in terms of this shape. I have my leg, the ankles slightly at an angle, and then I have the foot like this. And in this case, I sometimes simplify it just like this when I'm in a rush. That, okay, here's the foot. And I just know that, okay, this is at an angle, but I give it more of a U shape than a pointy triangle. And ideally I would give it this kind of shape, where here's the toes, then the ankle connects like that. So that's from the front view. The side view is pretty similar. The ankles connect, and this area right here is, let's say we're looking from, here's the big toe and here's the little toe. This area is right here. So this is this. And so we get the ankle in, get the calf in here, the rest of the leg comes in like this, and we have the heel here. And for the heel, what I just did is took the triangle and I just like cut it here. Let's get rid of this part, and now that's a lot more accurate. But you can see how having a triangle shape here, it's fine. You just have to know that, okay, really the heel doesn't end in just a point, curves, and it's more like that. But anyway, I always think of the triangular shape, and then the ankles, and then I draw the bone and how it connects to the leg. I try to never think of the foot just as a foot like this, just as a shape, without connecting it to the ankle. I always try and get the ankle in there, and then I get this angle. Here's the Achilles tendon. So I always think of it in that way. Alright, so let's talk a bit more about the details. So here's something I find kind of weird when people draw feet. They sometimes draw a shape like this. And I've seen this thing where they'll do a shape like this and maybe go like that. And that's the way they'll draw like the bottom of the foot. But then if you say, okay, draw a footprint, maybe they'll draw something like this. And this is a lot more correct than this. When you draw the bottom of the foot, remember that you have to be able to get a footprint out of it. So instead of doing this shape, think more about this shape. It's kind of like a bean shape or a peanut shape. Then you have the toes coming like this. Now notice that I created this arc. It's not like this where it attaches to the foot. It's comes like this and then tapers like this. And the toes will fit within that. Now, it's not really quite as simple as this when you place the toes, because the big toe starts lower the crease than the rest of the toes. So it's a bit like you start with the major arc, then you create another arc, and big toe fits in here, then the little toes start a little bit above that. The lines for the little toes start here, and the line for the big toe starts here. And this changes, the degrees always change depending on the person. We all look different, but it's important to keep the basic idea in mind. There are some people who the bottom of the foot may look more like this, but even then you can probably see that it still has this shape. Okay, so that's the bottom of the foot. Now remember that footprint gives you this kind of look. So what that tells us is that this area, all these dark areas are what touch the ground. This area. But you have this whole section here, which would be here, which doesn't touch the ground. And when we do a side view on the big toe side, it's good just to keep that in mind, that here's the heel, this part touches the ground, then you have this whole portion that in-between portion that doesn't. This is a bit detailed, but anyway, it's a bit advanced, I mean, but yeah. So I just make sure when I draw I keep these areas a bit darker and then fade off a bit. And then I get the back, which is this I leave a bit lighter, but that's this area. Okay. And from the little toe side, we don't really have to worry too much about this, because this whole area is touching the ground, so that's fine. Now if you see here, here's where the big toe is. Here's second, third, fourth. Here's where the baby toe is. Notice what we have here. It's like the big toe comes out the furthest. Sometimes, especially in classical drawings, you get a wedge shape where here's the big toe and here's the little toe, and it's the little toe that comes out the furthest. That's okay if you like to do it that way, that's fine. But even then, see, you get it like this. Anyway, so when we see the foot from the little toe side, we have to think of that see, the little toe is around here. That's where it starts. And that leaves this much space where the little toe isn't. So let's say the little toe is here, and we get that much space. Now, you don't have to get too technical with this. Just remember that you have to keep the spaces so that it's not just like this. Let's put in the heel there. It's not like this, where here's a little toe, then everything else is hidden behind that. Or even worse is this one, where you get the big toe and all the other toes like this. I've seen this so many times. And what the heck is that? So, yeah. Another thing is, from the side view, it's good to illustrate this, is that in the front view we have our triangle. Now you may notice I added a bit of a wedge here, so it's not just like this. I turned it into this. And the toes would be here. This is a bit looking down at the foot. Usually you see it more like this. You rarely see it where the foot is completely ground level. The toes are all like this, and then you get the triangle looking like this. So get the toes in there. But anyway, on the big toe side, the foot is higher than the little toe side. So what I mean is it comes like this. The form. So this whole area is higher. And so the form comes like this down. So now let's zoom in on the toes and just the structure. Okay. When we draw the big toe, I think of it like this. So here's the whole rest of the foot. And I have it so come this way, step down, and this way. So there's 1, 2 steps. Now for the rest of the toes, let's say we're viewing it from the little toe side. Let's get the basic positions. It's not 2 steps, it's 3 steps. So it comes here, comes down, and it comes here, down again, and it's like that. Down, down. So it's this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. 1, 2, 3. And keeps going like that. Then we have the big toe in the back, just 2 steps. So if we zoom in, it would look like for the little toe. 1, 2. Here's the nail. It's the knuckly bit. It's the other knuckle. Here's the one in the background. And often the baby toe is a bit curved. Sometimes it's curved inward a bit. So we get something that looks kind of like that. And of course remember that when I talk about things like stepping down, you have 2 steps or you have 3 steps, it's not as severe as this. It's mild. It's a little bump, another bump, something like this. Try and keep things natural, but keep these ideas in mind when you do things. Just like the triangle idea, feet aren't triangles like this, but they have within them this basic form.